Yo, hello cruel world, what is up? My name is Dr. Sohom. I'm a consultant forensic psychiatrist. I assess mentally disordered offenders for a living so that you don't have to. Okay, I'm going to get straight into this. So I've done a couple of reaction videos to some of the expert testimony in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial case. Several people have asked me to comment on Dr. Spiegel's cross-examination. I found a few clips that I think are interesting, funny. I'm just going to get straight into it. My expertise is I've given evidence many times in criminal and civil cases as an expert witness, as a psychiatrist. So I think I'm pretty well placed to critique this guy. These are my thoughts. Let's go.
During your deposition, what were the circumstances under which you decided to call Mr. Depp an idiot?
Under somebody call Mr. Depp an idiot?
Yeah, you called Mr. Depp an idiot in your deposition. Why
Okay. So I think it was in the context. I think it was in the, probably should read the context of it, because I think the context was, and I'm trying to think back, okay? And what I thought it was related to was if you're coming to some deposition, okay? And again, I'm thinking back, so you have it in front of you. I don't.
So he's saying you've got the deposition in front of you. I don't have it. That's very weak. You're supposed to be able to back up all the evidence you've given. Plus, if you're unsure, you're allowed to and you're supposed to ask for some time to read through it or listen to it, watch it back, whatever it is. So I guess what I'm saying is that's not good enough to say you've got it in front of me and I don't. This is like formal evidence as an expert witness in a court. If you don't know what they're talking about, then you ask for some time to get all the facts and then you give your answer. You don't say you've got it in front of you and I didn't. So he's already, to me, coming across as somebody who's not particularly professional, who's kind of a bit flustered, who doesn't know what he's talking about. And we've not even got into barely 30 seconds. Let's keep going.
So I'm thinking back where he's coming in from Europe for a deposition, video deposition that he gave, and he took an overnight the night before. And what I think I said was that if you're going to do a major thing to a trial that you're involved with, I think you'd be an idiot to come in the night before.
Okay, I think maybe what his point is fair, is that he's not calling Johnny Depp per se an idiot, but his actions idiotic, I think is his point. Even if that's true, even if that's what he meant, that's really unprofessional. I would never use the word idiot in a formal clinical trial. I don't even know why he's commenting on Johnny Depp's sort of whether he thinks his behaviour is sensible or not, because that's not a professional opinion that the court will want from a psychiatrist. The court will want to know, whether he's got personality traits, whether he's got symptoms of mental illness, whether he might have a personality disorder, how he might be reacting to trauma, specific psychiatric issues, not his opinion on whether he was prepared or not. If the court did ask that, and I generally don't know, viewers, if you know more about this than I do, please let me know. But I doubt they asked him about that. If they did, then he has to answer it in a professional and neutral and objective manner. He might say something like, it's not very sensible that Johnny Depp had such a big task and he didn't plan for it until the last minute. At a stretch, you could say that, but you can't be calling people idiotic. That is not cool. Back to the video.
All right. So I didn't call Mr. Depp an idiot. I certainly called that planning an idiot. I didn't call him an idiot.
So the words, so I mean he's an idiot, are mistranscribed?
No, I'm sure, again, if I said it in that, if you're just reading one line, one snippet, I'm sure it was in the context I just said. But again, you have it in front of you, I don't.
Yeah. Is idiot a professional opinion?
I wasn't rendering professional opinion.
Yeah.
No.
Is it a psychiatric opinion?
And that follows the Goldwater rule.
How does it follow the?
Oh, you just said that I'm not rendering a professional opinion. I just said idiot. That's not a Goldwater.
So idiot is not a professional opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I think the lawyer is really pushing this point, which is, is fair. It's his job to do that. I think Dr. Spiegel made a mistake by using that term, and the lawyer is really fleshing that out. But, he shouldn't have done that. That's, as I said before, it's not professional. So he's got to cop this flack being on the witness stand for saying something that was unprofessional. Back to the video.
Practice to describe people as idiots?
In my practice, no, I don't describe people my clinical cases as idiots or patients as idiots or victims as idiots. No, sir.
But you sat for a deposition in this case and described the plaintiff as an idiot, correct?
You gave me 9 hours of deposition, and if I said the word idiot, was an idiot in planning. It wasn't making him an idiot. I don't know Mr. Depp's IQ. I don't know his overall functioning. So therefore, if I said it, it was an idiot in planning.
So I think he's saying that he doesn't know Johnny Depp's IQ. He's treading on thin ice, because even if somebody has a low IQ, I don't think Johnny Depp does, but hypothetically, if somebody did, you can't call them an idiot. You can say they have cognitive disadvantages or cognitive limitations. At a stretch, if they've got a very low IQ, you could say they've got a learning disability. But using terms that are emotive and judgmental, like idiot, sets you up for exactly this kind of attack. So this is exactly why it's unprofessional, because a lawyer can rip you apart from using that term, as is happening here. So the dude, Dr. Spiegel, is flustering because he messed up and he's paying the consequences of it. I hope they move past this point, because it's getting a bit tiresome to me. Carry on.
Which is what I meant to come across as.
All right. So you did say you don't know his overall functioning, but you made some testimony today as to some evaluations you made relative to his functioning. You would agree with me that it's probably a good idea to think about the questions that are asked you in a court proceeding before answering them.
Am I allowed to answer that question?
Yes.
Okay. So what I meant by function, what I said by function, I believe that his agent reported how late he was showing up to every movie while the cast is waiting for him. I believe that would be an impairment. If I showed up late for that, I would not be here right now, would not have a job. Okay? I believe the thing was in terms of balking out of treatment for substance rehab that his doctor is prescribing for him. So if you're asking me if that's an impairment of functioning, I would say I'm very much substantiated in that.
I'm not sure if I agree with the dude. So he's saying that, I think, if I'm interpreting this right, that Johnny Depp has been lax in certain things, like turning up to shoots, etc., because he's late. And he's saying that's an impairment in functioning. I'm not sure. So to me, an impairment in functioning is when where you've got such a poor cognitive state, maybe due to hypothetically, I'm not talking about Johnny Depp, for any individual, because they've got a psychosis, because they've got dementia, because they've got severe memory problem. Deficits in functioning would be not being able to understand basic maths, to handle their own finances, to handle a bank account. They're not able to go shopping by themselves because they've got phobias, etc., etc. These are all serious issues that are related to serious symptoms of mental illness. But what this dude, Dr. Spiegel, is saying is a bit tenuous, I think. There's so many reasons that somebody can be late. They could be a superstar film actor who's high on drugs. They could just not care about the other people on the photo shoot. I'm not saying that Johnny Depp did these things, because I honestly don't know why he was late. But my point is that, to me, isn't a proper indication of a lack of functioning. That's not psychiatric. These are not psychiatric symptoms. This is just slightly errant behaviour, and it's not the evidence that a psychiatrist should be giving. Continue.
I'm trying to understand how you got to this notion of cognitive decline.
Okay, so I didn't know he was going to say this. This is exactly my point. This is not cognitive decline, just being late for something. If he's late for something because he couldn't remember where it was, or if he was late for something because he was unable to calculate the route, that's cognitive decline. Just being late for something, there's so many other possible reasons that I don't think it's fair to make the inference that it's cognitive decline, which I think is the point the lawyer is trying to make. Let's continue.
And I thought it was based, at least in part, on the manner in which he testified.
I'm sorry, what?
On the manner in which he testified.
On the manner, I'm sorry, I'm not being difficult. I can't hear, I'm sorry. On what?
I was asking you about the cognitive decline
Yes.
testimony that you made.
Yes.
And it was my understanding that at least a portion of that testimony that you rendered was that you derived some evidence of cognitive decline from the way Mr. Depp testified.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what I said, yes.
Right. And so all I'm asking you is, don't you think it's a good idea when you're in the middle of a court proceeding to answer questions carefully?
Again, professionally, we diagnose patients with a neurocognitive disorder by gross evaluation all the time with cognitive. On the thought that, again, age normal controls, I'm just saying, age normative controls does not put a 58-year-old gentleman at that processing. That's all I'm saying. That's all I said.
And you derived this without ever once talking to the man.
You mean me directly talking to him? Because we know how I derived it. So you're talking about me directly talking to him?
Yeah, you never talked.
No, I never. No.
Okay, so again, I think Dr. Spiegel, what he's doing is a little bit dodgy here. It's a bit of a grey area. It's not very professional. So he's making inferences of Johnny Depp's cognitive ability by the way he gave evidence. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's fair. And I don't think you can do that unless you've actually examined somebody and you ask them the right questions and you try and test them in the right way. So I think, again, this is what the lawyer is getting at. And also, yeah, it depends on their mental state at the time. You can't make an inference that there's actually cognitive decline. You could say that there suggests there might be a problem with cognitive decline and therefore I would like to do these neuropsychological tests, but you can't say that he's got cognitive decline. That's the equivalent of me saying, oh, well, Mr. Depp looked quite unhappy during his giving evidence, therefore I diagnose him with depression. You can't do that. You can say, I suspect depression, and therefore I would like to look at his medical records, or I'd like to assess him in person to see if he has all the symptoms of depression. You can say that, but you can't diagnose depression by a little snapshot of what they're saying. So in the same way, if he's slow in the way he's reacting during deposition, you can't diagnose cognitive decline. This is BS. I'm calling BS on this. Let's carry on.
Well, you did talk about Dr. Blaustein, right?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that the entirety of Dr. Blaustein's medical records are 12 pages of handwritten notes.
The important part was what I said. For me, as an example of cognition, which I'm trying to prove, which is what you asked me, the important part was what I said. And that was irrefutable.
I haven't said this yet, but I've been thinking it the whole time. I'm not really digging Dr. Spiegel's attitude, right? Even though the job of the cross-examining lawyer is to kind of discredit his evidence and maybe to make him contradict himself, that's kind of what they have to do. However, Dr. Spiegel is supposed to be completely neutral. He's supposed to answer all the questions to the best of his ability, and he's just about doing that, but his tone and his attitude is really defensive, and that's not a good look, because you're supposed to be neutral. You're not supposed to win the case for Amber Heard or for Johnny Depp. You're supposed to only give your professional opinions. And even though I kind of get why he's doing this, because he's feeling a bit flustered because the lawyer's doing a good job at kind of attacking the credibility of what he's saying, he's allowed to stick by his guns and he's allowed to give his opinion, but he's not supposed to have this defensive, why the hell are you asking me this question? I know that I'm right kind of attitude. And that's what I'm getting. Let me know if you think that I'm being unfair or not, whether you're getting the same from him on the comments below. Let's continue.
The important part is that he gave the mini mental status exam.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's talk about the mini mental status exam. Scored on a 30-point scale, right?
Yes.
All right. And it's an exam that basically is most often used for Alzheimer's, dementia, those kind of testing.
It's an exam that tests cognition in all psychiatric illnesses, not just Alzheimer's. It was made for dementia for Alzheimer's, but is the standard, has been the standard for testing cognition in all psychiatric illness, substance use disorders included.
Right, I completely disagree with Dr. Spiegel here. The MMSE, Mini Mental State Examination, is a screening tool for very blunt types of memory problems. So it's used for big issues with memory. So it's really sensitive. What that means, it's got a very low level of sensitivity. So what that means is you have to have serious, if you've got slight memory problems, then you're probably going to score 29, 30 out of this test. It's only used for people where you think they've got something like dementia or Alzheimer's. You don't use it routinely. I've done over 1,000 assessments in my career. I've probably used it less than a dozen times, and it's always been in the context of somebody with a suspicion of dementia. So what he's saying, in my opinion, is just factually incorrect. Continue.
Okay. Now, there is an element of that exam that requires drawing, correct?
Yes.
So you don't know what drawing Mr. Depp did, or whether the drawing should have been fully scored.
I wasn't questioning his visual spatial perceptual skills.
So this kind of exactly proves my point. That test, the MMSE, is for dementia. So memory is a big part of it, but it's also about the skills that he was talking about that start to become errant when somebody's developing dementia. So that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the test. And by saying that it's not relevant kind of means the whole test's not relevant because it is a screen for dementia. Continue.
Right. And you don't know what score Mr. Depp received on the exam.
I was very specific. I know 3 words, not remembering at 5 minutes. That's all I said.
3 words, not remembering 5 minutes, and he remembered one of them, right?
From what I understand, you didn't remember any of them.
All right. Memory on the exam. Out of the 30 points, what's it worth? 3. 3, right? Memory is 3 out of the 30.
Yeah.
So I really don't know what's going on here. Why is he referring to a test if he's not even seen the full answers? If that's part of his evidence, if that's part of his deposition, he should say, I'm aware there's a test that has been done, but I don't know what the score is. It would be helpful to know what that is. You can't give evidence on only having part of the evidence. You can't give your own opinion, on only having a tiny bit of the evidence or partial evidence. If that's the case, then you either don't give an opinion or you say that I don't have enough evidence to give an opinion. You can't just pick and choose the little bit that you know. Very unprofessional. Continue.
Memory's 3.
Okay.
And again, the memory section in and of itself tests memory. That's the only question that tests memory. Only section that actually tests memory.
That's not actually correct. That's the only one that tests short-term memory. There's other questions about prime ministers, etc., who the current president is, etc., that test other parts of memory. So that's factually incorrect. Continue.
So the memory section tests memory. It's the only section you testified about. And for all you know, that with respect to the exam that you're relying on, Mr. Depp scored 27 out of 30.
And that would be telling, though, cognitive, if you score 27 out of 30 and you miss 3 points on memory. That would be very telling.
You don't know if Mr. Depp had been up all night the night before.
Again, you wouldn't expect to not recall any words at 3 minutes unless there's a cognitive issue.
I have to say, even though I don't like this dude's evidence or demeanour or attitude or haircut, he's actually correct there. A score of 27 out of 30 might sound high because that's like 90%, isn't it? But because of the way the test is, even a very small drop indicates some cognitive issue. So there's something going on here. But it could be that Depp hadn't slept all night. It could be on substances. I don't know. But he's actually correct. That is significant as a score. Continue.
You don't know if Mr. Depp was high.
And again, now that could affect memory, but I'm not refuting that. I'm not refuting that at all. He could have been high, he could have been drunk, he could have been using cocaine, and that would absolutely affect his memory, which is what I said. Yes, you're right.
So ultimately, you have no idea what state Mr. Depp was in at the time he took the exam that you're relying on.
Short of what you just said about drugs and alcohol, okay, there shouldn't be a reason why a 58-year-old also with strokes and other neurocognitive conditions, but short of that, there shouldn't be a really good reason why someone at that age shouldn't come up with at least one. But an answer.
But wait a minute, you started that question with short of drugs and alcohol, and spent 35 minutes talking about his use of drugs and alcohol. Isn't that right?
Oh, I'm agreeing. I thought I agreed with you. I think I agreed. I said that drugs and alcohol can absolutely affect cognition. I'm not sure. I agree, but I'm not sure if that's a problem. I agree with you on that.
So again, I think maybe some of the points Dr. Spiegel is making are reasonable, but just the way he says it is quite defensive. So I don't think he's coming across well. Even when he's making decent points, he's shooting himself in the foot by not coming across well. Okay, guys and gals, I'm going to go straight onto another video. So this is like 2 different clips from YouTube. This is called, I'll put a description for the links of both parts here. This is called I Didn't See Willy Wonka, Dr. Spiegel's hilarious cross-examination at Johnny Depp's trial. Let's go.
You indicated, in your opinion today, that you thought, well, why don't we move a little differently? Are you a member of the American Medical Association?
No.
Okay, so you don't know what the ethical rule of the American Medical Association is relative to doing clinical diagnoses about individuals you've never talked to.
So you're saying in terms of doing expert witness evaluations under that rubric, right?
I'm just asking you, do you know the AMA's rule?
You're saying the AMA's ruling under the rubric of not to evaluate someone you did not see. And I'm questioning, I'm asking, so you are talking about expert witness testimony?
No, I'm talking about, do you know the rule?
I'm not a member of the AMA, so I
Okay,
don't
great.
read the rule.
We can move on. You don't know the rule.
I can feel the lawyer's frustration here, and maybe you're feeling the same frustration watching this clip. It's a simple question. He just has to give an answer. Now, as I've said already in this video, and I said in my last video, the lawyer's job is to try and undermine him and attack the credibility of his evidence. That's what the lawyer's there for. And he should know this. If he's an experienced expert witness, I don't know whether he's been cross-examined before in this kind of trial. Viewers, you probably know more than I do. Please let me know in the comments. But he's being smarmy and he's being very defensive here. He can just say, no, I don't know. And if he thinks... If he wants to make the point, he could say something like, I'm not a member of the AMA, I don't know this particular rule, but I'm very well versed in the general rules of psychiatric evidence. Something like that. He can say that. But just answer the question, because if you're so defensive, then it comes across, and it makes you come across, it makes this dude come across as arrogant and cocky and not being helpful and flowing with the evidence, which is what he's there for. Continue.
All right. You rendered an opinion about Mr. Depp's purported cognitive impairment.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you use as a baseline?
A baseline for processing speed?
Yeah, for analyzing Mr. Depp before you watched his deposition.
What do I use a baseline for that?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my baseline would probably be how I've seen him interact in public. How I've seen him interact with others. I've seen him interact in media. I've seen him interact and his process speed is certainly not slow. I've seen him do commercials. His process speed was not slow.
At deposition, didn't you say that what you did was compare Mr. Depp's performance in lots of pirate movies against his deposition testimony here?
What I said was I've seen Mr. Depp do apology ads. I remember he did an apology ad with Bad Dog with no delay in process speed. I've seen him interact with the media regarding to that. I saw no delay in processing speed. All I'm saying
Let me ask you about pirates, though.
Okay, so I think I get what's going on here. I think that Dr. Spiegel is trying to make an inference that Johnny Depp has a current slow processing speed during giving his evidence, and he's compared that to seeing him in other contexts, such as in films and in interviews, adverts, etc. I know I keep repeating myself, but this is really dodgy to me. That's not... Again, I think it's reasonable to say that he suspects there might be an issue, and therefore he would like to assess Johnny Depp or like to send him for like neurocognitive testing to see whether that issue is correct. I think that's just about reasonable. But you can't make the inference from just watching those things because they're completely different contexts. Continue.
You compared pirates to the depositions given in this case.
Then I apologize for what I said. Then I misspoke.
You misspoke? You didn't make the comparison?
Like, what I think is quite interesting is you can see Johnny Depp's, presumably other lawyer, getting quite excited here because Dr. Spiegel just said that he made the wrong comment. You should be confident enough and you should know what you're talking about enough to not have to make mistakes and apologise for them. But if you are genuinely wrong and you genuinely have been caught out, then it's better to tell the court that rather than try and cover it up. But I don't know if they're about to get into it because I've paused it. But what is he apologising for? Because is he saying that everything I said is wrong, or that I retract my statements about Johnny Depp's cognitive speed? Or is he saying I still think Johnny Depp has poor cognitive speed, but maybe I shouldn't have used that comparison compared to his films? I think he's just making a hash of this. I don't think he's explaining himself very well. Let's continue.
Right now, just a second ago? Just a second ago, I may have said that I misspoke. I apologize, I misspoke.
Okay. Because you know you can't compare pirates to sworn testimony, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But you can, but as an aside, you can judge someone's processing speed at any time. Like I'm judging yours right now, you're judging mine. We all judge processing speed as a baseline because of what we know about each other. I would say your processing speed right now is not slow. So, we're judging processing speed. I'm just saying to you.
He almost did a good thing by admitting he was wrong when he said some nonsense, and now he's trying to back it up. Not spontaneously, I should answer. He wasn't asked a question. He just tried to get the last word. His job as an expert witness isn't to have the last word. A lawyer can, if they want to, be quite brutal in cross-examination, and they can kind of make a point be a bit smarmy, have the last word. They're allowed to do that. An expert witness isn't there to win the argument. They're just there to give their objective opinion to assist the court. So again, Dr. Spiegel is not shedding himself in glory. Continue.
Yeah. But no, any of Mr. Depp's other portrayals in movies, did that affect your analysis of processing speed?
Only I've seen him interact on interviews, and that was it.
Right.
When he wasn't in movies.
Right. But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you? You see him in that movie, Charlie and Chocolate Factory? Did you look at that one when you were comparing his processing speed?
What is going on with the dude? What was that? How was that facial expression? I think he's trying to express that he's upset about the question he's being asked, but that's not very... Even if he doesn't like the question, he has to answer it. That's quite unprofessional. And I don't know what was going on with his mouth. It looked like he sort of vomited in his mouth by accident and tried to swallow it in secret. I don't know. Continue.
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
Occasionally, in my experience, when I've been cross-examined, I've been asked a question that I think is completely unfair. It's like, something where they're asking me to hypothesize about a situation which I can't predict, or they're asking me to predict a statistic which I can't do. If I can't answer the question, usually the judge should step in. That's the judge's role to say that's an unfair question or it's a ridiculous question. The expert witness can, in exceptional circumstances, turn around to the judge and say, I'm sorry, but I can't answer that question because I don't know, or I'm sorry, but like that, I've already answered that question several times. But you can't just sort of sit there and give this attitude like, oh, that question's so ridiculous. Surely, Judge, surely, Your Honour, you're going to step in and do something about it, which is kind of what Dr. Spiegel's doing here. So that's very arrogant, very cocky. I don't think the judge is particularly liking this dude's style either. Continue.
No, you'll be happy to know I didn't see Willy Wonka I didn't see 21 Jump Street when it happened, or whatever it was about. No, I did not.
Again, his answers might be reasonable, but all he has to do is say, no, I didn't see those films. That's it. He doesn't have to soak it with this attitude because it's not a good look. He doesn't come across well. Continue.
All right. You made a very kind admission, I think, early on in your deposition, that you're not claiming to be a better actor than Mr. Depp. That's correct, isn't it?
100%.
All right. But with respect to acting, you know that actors actually rehearse for their parts and work on the language, diction, timing of their dialogue as part of that rehearsal?
If you say that, I'm not an actor, so I don't know what goes on. I can't tell you. I have no idea what goes on in acting.
Again, he's being quite abrasive and quite cantankerous here. He's being intentionally obstructive, I think, this expert witness. You don't have to be an expert in acting to understand that people to rehearse and practice. The lawyer is making a point. It's a very reasonable point, which is, I think, obviously I've paused it, so I don't know what he's about to say. I think the point he's trying to make is if somebody acts, then they practice and they rehearse, so their processing speed is different because it's not reacting to something live in real life like a deposition. So if Johnny Depp appears quicker when he's acting, that's because he's rehearsed it versus reacting to something to his deposition. Dr. Spiegel is not answering this question particularly well, particularly professional in my view. Just say, look, I'm not a professional actor, but I get the concept of acting. I get that he's been prepped in that situation, is not prepped in the scenario that I talked to him about. If necessary, concede that my comments about cognitive speed are probably not that valid for that reason. But don't sit there and go, I'm not a professional actor, because they're not asking you a question that's outside of your area of expertise. They're asking you a very sensible question, and you're not coming across well, my dude. Continue.
Okay, but you don't know enough about acting to know whether actors rehearse?
Sir, I am not an expert in acting. I have no idea what an actor does.
Okay,
so I've gone through 2 clips. Those are my comments speaking from the position of a professional expert witness who's been cross-examined in trials. To summarise, I don't think Dr. Spiegel came across particularly well. I think he's made some pretty dodgy inferences, to be honest. He's trying to make inferences about Johnny Depp's lack of cognitive abilities, processing speed. He's doing this on evidence he's not fully seen or understood, like the mini mental state examination. He's doing it comparing Johnny Depp in films versus Johnny Depp's reaction to a deposition, which again, it might raise suspicions of a problem, but it's not enough to say there is a problem. And he should say that. He should say, I suspect there's problems in cognitive speed, not there are problems in cognitive speed. He called Johnny Depp an idiot at one point and then tried to backtrack by saying that his actions were idiotic. Even if that's what he meant, it's still not a good look, because it's a very unprofessional thing to say as a psychiatrist, as an expert witness. I have to say, I think the lawyer's pretty good. I've been cross-examined by dozens of lawyers. He's very good at picking up the points and putting his point across, and I think that he's basically made a bit of an ass out of this dude. So those are my thoughts. I've done this because so many people have requested me to do this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it's educational. And I hope you will consider watching some of the other videos on my channel. I don't tend to do reaction videos. It's more psychoanalysis of high-profile cases. Done a recent video on Jimmy Savile. Go check that out. Lots of other things. I'm not going to advertise my channel anymore because I want you to go and check it out. Until next time, stay euthymic. Please do not forget, I love you.